Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the podcast. I'm your host, Levon Maradian, and this is episode 10 of Lost in Hollywood. And today's special guest is Chef Arthur Grigoryan from Mas BBQ. He's a pitmaster, chef, and I've also seen that you're like a food historian in a way. You love the history of culinary arts.
Yeah, it's very important. I mean, history was the only subject I did good in school. I failed every other class.
Really?
So, I mean, food in itself is history, like all the cultures, contribute to cuisine.
That's right.
Like if it wasn't for China, for example, Italy would not have a cuisine. Like all pasta comes from China.
Oh, like all the noodles and the ramen that they consume.
So all the trade routes and everything, like that's had a big role to play in the history of cuisine. So that's why, so that's why it's really important, in my opinion, to learn the history of whether it's about a dish or an ingredient, just so you know where it originates from, where it came from.
Very nice, man. So what made you want to be a chef? Like to, dedicate your life into feeding people? Technically that's what it is. But
yeah, for sure.
Most people don't understand that being a chef is very stressful. It's a hard job and the hours are long. My cousin is a chef, so I understand where it comes from.
Yeah.
And it could either, you have to have some type of will to continue doing it, or you just move on.
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, when I started high school, like I was like 14, that's when I kind of knew I wanted to do it. Growing up, I was a much heavier set. I was like,
Really?
I was like 260, 275 pounds, wrestled in high school. And so I loved to eat. And I didn't really know it was a whole industry of its own with all these, each chef is like a different personality. It's
the celebrity chefs. And
it's all these different things. And I just learned about the culture and the whole etiquette of, the kitchen.
How to conduct yourself in the kitchen.
Yeah, like the whole hierarchy, Escoffier, the French chef who designed the kitchen brigade to be like the army, where you have the chef, sous chef, chef de partie, and all the other people underneath. And I just fell in love with it. And I really loved music growing up. But I mean, you can't tell your parents you're going to be a musician if you're Armenian. So
I know the feeling. It's very similar to saying, "Hey, I'm going to be a photographer." It's like, "Oh, wedding photographer?" I'm like, "No, not a wedding photographer."
So then when you start working in the restaurant industry, you realize that it is all pretty much like a show. No matter what happens, the show must go on. The customer can't know if anything wrong is happening in the back end. Yeah, so just the adrenaline, and obviously Anthony Bourdain has a big role to play. You read his book, Kitchen Confidential.
I've read that book.
Yeah, and you just learn about all that cutthroat, the intensity and everything, and you start working and you're like, every cook has that one point in their career where they want to just give up and quit because of all that intensity and the pressure. And, there's the saying, can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. So... But I'm glad I made it, and I've been doing it for 8 years already. So
on your own,
yeah,
as like technically your own business.
No. So after high school, I moved to Paris for 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, that's where I went to culinary school, and I worked as a sommelier there, and I even worked in a winery in Bordeaux called Chateau Siorac.
Wow, dude, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, that's why you're here. So I want to pick your brain. I'm very, very intrigued by you, dude, because I always see you on Instagram. I mean, we knew of each other, like kind of, sort of, when Clubhouse was actually something about when the pandemic first started, or the flu season. And from then, you were very, very intriguing. You were very, very bold, straightforward.
Yeah.
You don't. I can tell that. You're very, very direct.
Yeah.
There's no bullshitting with you. That's what I picked up for that little bit, So, so you went to France and you did all of that, and then you were there for 2 years. What's the scene there? Is it much different than being a chef here in the States?
Oh, definitely. Well, first of all, over there, the hustle is much more more intense.
Really?
Yeah, it's very strict out there, and especially if you're coming from the outside, like especially me coming from the States, there's a lot of I don't want to. I love France. I love the I love the culture. But working there, it was very hard as an Armenian American. You know, like one example, one chef would always pick jokes at how there's nothing good has ever come out of America in terms of cuisine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that was hard on its own, but I mean, you just gotta keep your head down and work, and over time, it just gets easier.
It kind of fades away.
Yeah, yeah.
In the back of your mind.
Exactly.
You're not even paying attention to them after that, right?
Yeah, I mean, over there, the mentality was they break you down to build you back stronger. So, and they take a lot of pride. Like cuisine for them dates back to like the 1400s, 1300s.
Dealing with royalty and
yeah,
and all
exactly.
That stuff.
So they take it very seriously, like the whole history and everything. So
that you got to know it. So
Yeah.
they want to make sure that they implement that into you as well.
yeah,
Like,
for sure.
Don't
I
think
mean, like you had to be over there. You had to be shaven, like clean cut every day, haircut.
No beard,
you can't,
no nothing.
Yeah, I couldn't. If I walked in like this, it's like go home and shave, come back.
I didn't know. Really? So that's
Yeah.
very military then.
yeah, very.
That's not.
Yeah.
That's great. So from there, I mean, you went and you came here. I'm sure you worked at different restaurants throughout the U.S. and Los Angeles as well.
Yeah, well, I went a few places, but I stuck around mainly at Osteria Mozza in Hollywood.
Oh yeah,
So
I've eaten there. Good food.
yeah, so after Paris, I came back, and that's where I got hired. I mean, I staged at different places, like here and there, but I felt comfortable there, and I really liked her approach. Nancy Silverton, the chef owner, I really liked her approach to food. It was more, just let the ingredient be the star. You don't have to do any fancy fluid gels and I don't know, like
Foam.
molecular stuff. I mean, the restaurant I worked at in Paris was very classical French food. It wasn't like the foam and stuff
It's
either.
classical French food is a lot of butter, right? A lot of butter.
Depends which region you're from. So the north of France, like Normandy, that's where mainly you have the cream, the butter, and everything. And then when you go like to the southwest of France, where Bordeaux is, that's where the foie gras, confit, like duck confit, that's where all that stuff is from. And then if you go to like Provence, like Marseille, the Côte d'Azur, like Cannes, that area, the south of France, that's more like olive oil, eggplant, tomato, like
a little bit lighter.
It's more the Mediterranean. So it's
Because they're I'm assuming they're near the ocean.
Yeah.
So
and the way that became that way is the people who lived in the north, they were more wealthier. So cream, butter, cheese, these are more expensive ingredients.
Right.
And that's what shaped the cuisine there. Whereas the more you go down south, it becomes what's called like peasant food.
that's right. And
But,
it's
yeah.
a lot of places is like that, right? The more north you go, the more high end it is.
Italy's the same way. Like you go to Piedmont, it's all hazelnuts and cream, but like Parmesan, it's more from, so you go down south, it's all like tomato sauce and
Like for the poor.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
it's easy. You just grind up some tomatoes, put it in
Yeah.
a pot.
I mean, it's not easy. There's
no, I'm not.
It's
I know.
it's very easy to fuck up tomato sauce. So
Absolutely, I agree with you. I'm actually I like to dabble in food, like cooking myself, man. I enjoy it. It's fun, and it's always fun to feed people and the reaction that you get. I think that's what you get off on, right?
yeah,
Reaction.
it's more. I mean, like restaurants, you only make good money like if you're selling alcohol.
right.
Then you'll profit a lot. Otherwise, I think I read somewhere it was like they only keep 7 cents of every dollar like made or something like that.
Really,
Yeah. So
in regards to the dishes.
yeah, like you invest a lot into it, and the biggest profit you get out of it is people's reactions more than the dollar
and the
Yeah.
word of mouth, and then it's the turnover
Exactly,
that
yeah.
happens continuously.
Yeah, because you're, as a cook, see, the word chef is used very loosely nowadays. Like
Because anybody's a chef, even
Yeah.
on YouTube. There's a bunch of YouTubers who
exactly. But I mean, for me, like no disrespect to anyone, but I only consider people. You have to earn that title first of all,
That's right.
and I only take people seriously who I know have at least spent at least 2 or 3 months on an actual kitchen line, like an actual professional line, then I'll take you seriously. But if you just straight up graduated from culinary school and your parents bought a nice little banquet hall for you,
or
then
a little restaurant for you,
you know, like, yeah, so, you know, like you still have a lot of proving to do, not to me, like just to anyone in the industry. You know?
And I think a lot of the time it's something that you have to prove to yourself.
Yeah.
To get through the tough times. In anything, there's tough times. But I've seen a kitchen line happen. Just looking at it, I'm like, oh, dude, I can't ever do this. I enjoy like cooking, but not to that extent. It's like,
yeah, I mean, as a cook, you're supposed to be a craftsman, artist, scientist, and
a problem solver.
And then when you take all of that into the setting of a restaurant, it's like in a kitchen, in a restaurant in general, it's all about communication. Mm-hmm. So the minute that server rings in the order, like the kitchen chef calls out the order, all these cooks need to communicate with each other so that the food goes out at the same time, because each cook is responsible for a different station. So you're supposed to communicate with each other like, hey, you got I need that steak ready in 5 minutes. Sure, it'll be ready. The pasta will be ready in 3 minutes, you know, like, and everything must go out at the same time. It's supposed to be like a synchronized dance, you know, when the servers go out with the plates. It's just beautiful when you're in a good restaurant that has good service. Nothing's more beautiful than the servers coming out and like the plates just elegantly, gracefully.
It's like food ballet.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all these little things that matter. It's all those things that make the difference between a good restaurant and a great restaurant. You know, like being served, like the way you were served wine and all of that. You know, if the person serving you has no knowledge of what they're serving you, if they constantly have to be like, let me go ask the chef. Let me go ask the chef. Then that just means that restaurant doesn't take their service seriously.
I've noticed that. I mean, I've gone to many fine dining restaurants, and I enjoy going to those places. A lot of the places that I've gone to is like very word of mouth.
Yeah.
So when we go, I'm like, number one is service. Yeah, the food could be excellent, but if the service is off, that could just ruin your entire night a lot of the time. And
exactly. Like you have a rude server, you know, it ruins your appetite. You don't even want to eat anymore, or you know,
because you end up just thinking about that guy. I'm like, if that guy comes again, I'm gonna, say something to that guy, dude. Definitely. So as you work through Osteria Mozza, you got there, and what I've learned about you through we follow each other on social media and stuff like that. You are a very interesting chef, where you try to implement this. You know, Armenians in general, they love to barbecue.
Yeah,
it's like if somebody's barbecuing, that means it's a very happy moment. It could be a family gathering. You share, you drink, you eat, you laugh, and you do like 95 genads to people, right? So you implement a lot of Americanized barbecue too, in between. But do you concentrate mainly on implementing like Mediterranean spices with Middle Eastern flair and all this stuff, and then you make your own your own vibe?
So the way I got into barbecue was actually I was still working at Mozza, and I went down to Texas on vacation, and there's a place called Franklin's Barbecue.
Okay,
and it's
a famous place.
He's considered one of the greats, like one of the goats.
Goat, like pitmaster.
Yeah, like one of the greatest of all time. And I stood in line at his place got there at 7 a.m., didn't eat till like 1 p.m. So it was like a 5-hour line. Yeah.
That long of a line. Wow.
The restaurant doesn't open till 10, but you have people standing in line like early.
You're waiting for like sneakers or some shit.
Yeah, exactly. We got there, and there was already 60 people in line. So I'm not a very patient person, and
especially for like in anything, or just is there a certain time? Because most people have a time limit for like dining or any type. It could be fast food or it could be whatever. Most people 30 minutes. If it's over 30 to 35 minutes, most people are like, I'm out of here, dude.
It's just like when I would hear. Back then I hadn't had barbecue anywhere, so when I would hear these crazy stories about people waiting in line that long, I'm like, is it really that good? Like,
for you to sacrifice
exactly your whole day.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it until I took that first bite of brisket at Franklin's, and I was like, wow, like, no, this is no joke. And at the time I was aspiring to just work in as much classical like fine dining restaurants as I can and just pursue that path. But once I tried that brisket, I was like, man, this is what I want to do. And like everything just started to click. Armenians love barbecue. Texans love barbecue. Like, why not try to get the best of both and combine them together? And I mean, I'm full on Armenian, like by blood, I'm 100% Armenian, but I was born in America. So it's like you're Armenian American tech.
Right. Yes.
So I was like, okay, that could be a cool way to, I guess, represent yourself, you know, like your story as an Armenian American chef.
Telling stories with food.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful story to tell because everybody likes to eat.
Yeah. And then, I mean, you look at brisket and
I've had your brisket.
Yeah, there's people making pastrami with brisket, and I don't know if a lot of people know, but if you study the etymology of pastrami, it comes from basturma.
Really?
Yeah.
So, since you brought up basturma, right?
Yeah.
Where does it come from? Is it Armenian? Is it Turkish?
It's both, and I'll explain. A lot of people are going to hate me for saying that, but basturma was the salt-cured meat was brought over to us by the Mongols.
Yeah.
They would salt the meat, and they were known to be good horsemen. So they would strap it onto their saddles, and as they rode through the desert and like the hot air, would cure the meat. Once they come over to Armenia, you know, what were we? We were the merchants and doing trade. Like we were in charge of all that. Like we were good at that stuff. So we introduced them to all these spices, like chaman is fenugreek and like so on. So we introduced the chaman aspect to the salted meat. And also the word basturma is a Turkish word. But Armenians, we have our word for it. It's called abucht.
It's really? Okay.
Yeah. It's just, it's just during the Ottoman times, you know, it's all those countries in the Middle East were pretty much under the borders of the Ottoman Empire. Mm-hmm. And the official language of the Ottoman Empire was Turkish or Arabic because of Islam.
That's right. Okay.
So that's why, one, it was for business reasons. You know, like if you're trying to sell food to your neighbors who are not from your community, like they're not going to understand what those names are. Like you give him apucht, he might not be able to pronounce it or, you know, like, so it was one for business purposes also. And then much later on, it became scary because, I mean, there was the whole nationalist thing. Like, if you're trying to sell something as Armenian, then the Ottoman government would see that as you being a revolutionary nationalistic figure. And so there was that too. Like, people were also scared of it. But yeah, basturma, it was famous in the region of Kayseri, the city of Kayseri. My great grandmother on my dad's side. So my dad's mom's mother. Yeah, that's my great grandmother. What am I saying?
It's okay.
Yeah. It's all good, her family was from there, and they were basturma makers as well. And I've also heard from one of my friends, he's a historian. He told me that in Kayseri, I forgot the number, but let's just say like if there was 6 basturma factories, 4 out of those 6 were owned and run by Armenians.
Wow.
So, I mean, like you can, I consider it Armenian because we have a part in the history of how basturma became to known.
Right.
But like I always say, food is, I don't like to think of food as a national thing. I think of it as a regional thing because, again, like you study the trade routes of whether it's the ancient times, medieval times, or even now. As long as trade is constantly happening, then food is fluid. You know, it just
flows.
Yeah. And also, a lot of the dishes that we eat today,
it's from a lot of different regions. I mean,
reality. Like a lot of the dishes, you just have to do research, find out which city it's from. For example, okay, çiğ köfte is another one.
Right.
You know, they're like, what is it? Is it Armenian or is it Turkish?
But some people even might say it's Middle Eastern.
Yeah. But one thing I've read about çiğ köfte is it's from Urfa.
Which is steak tartare for anybody who knows what çiğ köfte is.
And also in Armenian, the Armenian word, because chig means chig kufte, that's another Turkish word.
Yeah,
chig means raw, kufte is the.
Yeah.
But the Armenian word masad zavar. So zavar is the balhur, masov zavar, masad zavar. And one thing I read in a book I have, it mentions that it was either created by the Lebanese Maronite, so the Christian Lebanese people, the Armenians. I don't think Greeks make it, but
I'm not sure. I've never gone to a Greek spot, like a real Greek restaurant, and they serve you chukifte or steak tartare or whatever.
But basically, this book was saying that because Islamic law, and forgive me if I'm saying anything wrong, but this is just based off what's in the book. It said that Islamic law forbids the consumption of raw meat that has the red blood in it.
That's right.
So that's why there's that theory that it was either invented by an Armenian or a Lebanese Maronite. And because it's from Urfa, Urfa was mainly inhabited by Armenians and Kurds. So how did this become considered Turkish after? We don't live there anymore. So it's very easy for them to take it, and
just like they take credit for a lot of other things.
Exactly.
That are Armenian tech. Yeah, right?
Other dishes include like lahmacun and baklava. Lahmacun is another one. Okay,
is it lamajo?
Well, okay.
So we have a friend, Nar, the filmmaker. He's a good friend of mine as well. He always says it's not lemejun, it's lemeju or lemejo. Asma, don't ever call it lemejun. I'm like,
okay, I'll go even deeper than that. So lahmacun, it's from where my great grandfather was from, from Kilikia, from Antep. Lahmacun.
That's where my grandfather's from too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So lahmacun and baklava, a lot of the foods originate in Antep. Like even Turks today, they claim Adana kebab is theirs, but Adana was a famous Armenian city. So you just have to look at that, like if the Turks are saying this dish comes from this city, it's like, okay, 100 years ago in that city, we were living there.
Right.
So there's a high chance that you guys learned it from us.
I'm pretty sure they did.
Yeah.
And that's not trying to be like taking credit in aspect, but you're talking about history.
Yeah.
And
of course.
And that's why I mentioned that you study a lot. You're not just a chef. You are educated in the roots of where food comes from, not just the Middle East, the Mediterranean, or the Caucasus, or anything like that. Throughout, because I know the other day you were talking about parts of Egypt.
Yeah.
Parts of Egypt. I forgot the dish exactly what you were trying to that you were referencing.
Bamia.
Yeah, which is also
we eat bamia too, and also the Iraqis eat bamia as well. So that's what I'm getting to. Like food can there's certain dishes that are like purely Armenian, like rapama and all that. Yeah, like it's purely
like a pumpkin stew.
Yeah, but all those dishes from the Ottoman era, they were never really documented. Like, oh, this person invented this dish. Like the Europeans have that. Like each document.
They had an actual historian for the food. Well, the guy who was
like they would certain dishes are named after certain chefs.
Really?
So yeah, I can't remember a lot of them right now, but. We didn't, those regions, it was just one neighbor learned from another neighbor and it got passed down through generations, like word of mouth, So that's why we could never really know for sure who, like it's all just based off apocryphal stories, like just legends and myths, so to say. But
a lot of the myths are pretty true, pretty accurate.
It's pretty accurate if you connect the dots.
That's wonderful, man. So going back to, you were talking about chaman, which is foreign Greek.
Chaman is, there's the chaman spice mixture, which you rub on basturma after it's cured. And then chaman as a spice is fenugreek in English.
Okay. So you use that for your brisket.
Yeah.
Our good friend, mutual friend, Zaven.
Yeah,
he's a good dude. He's a foodie himself. He enjoys good food. So when we were doing a pod episode for Pixelmade and through Zartong, he brought the brisket, and it was wrapped in cellophane.
Yeah.
And in foil. See, that's how you know I had it. Because you said, listen, it has to be in cellophane. You put it in the oven with the cellophane. Is that right?
You don't. It was already cooked.
You just have to warm it up.
Yeah, you just have to. The thing is, when you take it out of its wrapping, this is just after it's cooked. So I believe he bought the beef ribs. I don't know. Was it no, it was the beef ribs.
The beef ribs? Okay,
Yeah.
but it had a...
Yeah. So those they cooked for like 6 hours, maybe 7 hours, and after it cooks, you wrap it in the plastic so that the steam doesn't escape, and it rests like that. But when I gave it, I told him, I just told him, make sure you don't take it out of the wrapping because all the steam's gonna escape when you're reheating it and it's gonna dry. So,
dude, literally, I went like this with the fork and it just disintegrated.
Yeah.
But it was very, very good. I haven't came to you. Well, you're doing an underground restaurant.
Yeah.
Literally, this man, he says it's illegal. Fuck it. At this point, everything is illegal if you really look at it, dude. And you do it in a undisclosed location. We're not going to reveal that. You can find it if you follow him at Yerort Mas. That's 3 eyes.
Yeah, it's 3 eyes. So the Roman numeral 3, basically _MAS_BBQ.
And if you're a foodie, and if you enjoy somebody who enjoys his craft, who spent time manicuring. That's the best word I can use. Manicuring his food for people to enjoy. Check this man out. I'm gonna come, dude. One of these days, I have to come.
Welcome anytime.
I appreciate that. I'm gonna bring a shitload of people, and we're gonna just go through everything, and then you're gonna come back here again one day, and we're gonna go over each one of these things
For sure.
because what you show, dude, you did a lamb shank. I saw a picture of a lamb shank.
It was a shoulder.
Lamb shoulder. What is it with dried apricots?
Oh, so that was have you had ravurma before?
Yes.
So that's my take on ravurma. Traditionally, ravurma, they take the lamb, cut it into chunks. They boil it and then they preserve it in the oil for the winter.
Right.
But the way I do it is I smoke it until the bark gets set, and then after the bark gets set, you put it in clarified butter, which I clarified myself.
Which is technically like ghee, right?
Yeah, but I mean, if buying store-bought ghee, you never know what they could be putting in there.
Oh, okay.
So it's very easy to make
it's
on
called
your
grass-fed ghee.
So it gets filled with ghee, and in the Diyarbakir region or Tigranakert, in that area, they were known for making their ravurma with quince. Seryefil. Yeah.
My wife's grandmother, she makes I'm gonna say dolma.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a whole different conversation. Dolma, sarma, whatever,
Yeah.
She actually uses quince in the dolma.
Oh, okay.
And that's her thing.
Yeah.
It steams it, right? Even though it's in a pot and it's boiling to a certain extent because it has a little.
Well, quince is it's more for its tartness. It has it's like an apple. Think of it as an apple, but with much more tannins. Tannins are like when you drink wine and that puckery feeling in your mouth. Those are the tannins. So it's just like an apple that has a shit ton of tannins, and it's a little bit more sour. So
I personally like it. It's very good. I've never seen somebody who makes sarma and dolma like that.
Yeah,
and I guess that's her calling card of, she made it because it has that. I just will mind you, this is an 85-year-old woman who still makes this stuff. So going back to the sarma part of it, right?
Yeah.
So where does that come from? Is it sarma and dolma? Is that Turkish the Greeks use it too.
Yeah.
We use it in different parts of the Middle East. Depends where.
Yeah. So, it's very easy to distinguish that one. You have to look at who was growing grapes. The world's oldest winery, they found it in the Arani cave complex in Armenia. That's right. 6,100 years old, I believe. So This is what I say. Where do the Turks come from? Central Asia. Central Asia is all steppes. No grapes grow there.
Because there's no actual real
I mean,
land to do any of that. I mean,
just the environment there is not suited for growing grapes, and also they were nomads at the time, so they were constantly they didn't settle in one place. They were always moving.
yeah, they were. Yeah. They were
So
always-
when did they have time? Like, if you study the harvest of grapes and with winemaking and all that, like, when did they have time to make it back in time for the season to harvest those grapes? Like, were they making wine? No,
they were just going and trying to conquer a bunch of fucking
exactly.
places.
So they came, and I'm sure we've been using the leaves for something, like I'm sure they came and saw it. And also the Urartian word. So in the Urartu language, our ancestors, the word for grape leaf was doli. But the Turks, they argue that by saying, oh, in Turkish, dolma means to stuff. But, like it's just that thing again.
It's he says, she says, they say, I say, right?
I mean, but that one, it's same reason why the Greeks have it is because the Greeks also were growing grapes. So I'm sure they had their own version. Like if you've had the Greek version of dolma, it's a lot bigger.
Mm-hmm. They're fat boys.
Yeah, they're fat. So that one, again, going back to the whole food is not like nobody can really be a gatekeeper of dishes,
It's mine, it's yours, it's ours. Yeah, I get
like
you on
with that logic again, like, pasta comes from China. Like all noodles come from Asia. Like mante is another one. Mante came from the Mongols.
which is like wonton
Yeah.
in a way.
And
So people don't know what mante is.
Koreans even have their own version. They call it mandu. If you have mante in like Uzbekistan, it's going to look way different than mante in Armenia. So
You got the Georgians who have the
khankali, yeah. So, I mean, look at khankali and then look at the dumplings you get at Din Tai Fung. Tell me, like,
if
who
they're not
did it
friends,
first?
right?
Yeah, like. So
You're absolutely correct, man. Hell
again,
yeah.
it's another thing. Like, if you look at crops, right? Tomatoes are native to this land, America, or Latin America, America in general. Tomatoes are native to here. Chocolate is native to here. Corn is native to here. Beans, like certain species of beans are native to here. So by this logic, like anybody can claim anything as theirs. So, I mean, again, it's all based on which region you're from, what fruit grows in that region, what spices are in that region, and that's what's going to influence people to cook the food they cook.
That's so sick, dude.
And like, sorry to cut you off.
No,
right now, I have this one book I'm studying. It's a 10th century cookbook from Baghdad.
Okay.
So you look at recipes in there, and like, there's not even any measurements written. It's just take the chicken, do this, do that.
It's you weigh it by your eye. Chop over this
exactly.
Yeah.
And going back to bamia, see, it's okra. That's what bamia is. It grows in those areas. Like Iraq is known for having good okra. Egypt, a lot of people say it actually came out of Egypt and then made its way up to like Mesopotamia and the Armenian highlands and all that. So again, it's all regional. It's cooking is all fluid. Like olive oil comes from Greece, and
Not from Italy.
Yeah.
Originally.
Yeah, originally. So it's just that's why history is very important. Like learning the history of all these dishes and
Well, you were mentioning that, the only thing you didn't fail is history, right?
Yeah.
And that's why you've stuck to it throughout all these years. That's wonderful, man. So just in case anybody was interested in that book, from Baghdad, well, what is the book called? If you don't mind revealing.
No.
Who's interested?
It's I found it off Amazon. It's pretty pricey though because there's not a lot of printed copies of it. It's called Annals of the Caliph's Kitchen. The author is Nawal Nasrallah.
There you go, guys. So if you guys are interested in checking that out. If you're a foodie, you love history, want to mix up both, pick it up.
And some people have asked me like, why do you have interest in the cuisines of our neighboring countries? It's because when you read their cookbooks, they mention us in there as well.
I know that for a fact.
Like there's certain herbs that are like, I don't know, Armenian, I don't know, like there's Armenian cucumber. There's, I don't know, I'm trying to remember, Armenian sodium borate. I don't know, like there's all these, there's all these references to us. They reference lavash a lot as Armenian flatbread, even like back then, you know, so.
I know a lot of people that even they're Turkish. I know them, and they will claim like lavash is from Armenia because you know we would use them. We would cook them in the tonet.
Yeah. No, I mean anybody who's open minded and actually goes and researches the roots and everything. You can't. I mean, you don't want to look stupid, right? Like. You don't want to just be a hard-headed idiot
and just be like, "That's ours. This is mine. That's not yours." Right?
When something is documented in fact, then you have to give it.
You need the proof.
Yeah.
Once you have the proof, that you can't dispute it. Even though to this day, a lot of people will dispute a lot of bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's life. And that's what this life is going because everybody, you know, where we are now in life, we spent the 3 years at home wearing a goddamn mask.
Yeah.
Doing all this extra. All these things, which some of the stuff I do agree with, some of them I do not. Where we are going and what they're trying to do to the people out here is wild, dude. It just throws me off. I'm like, the more and more I like today. I'll give you an example. My wife works in the medical field. She's not a doctor or a nurse, but she works in HR. She has to get a booster shot, or else she'll get fired. And she was highly, highly upset. I'm like, she's like, I got the original whatever. I thought I was done, but an email says, hey, listen, if you don't take it, you're gone. And I think that's kind of weird and fucked up that you have to make this a mandatory thing. What if the things that they say it's, you know, oh, you have to take these shots because, you know, it's for your health and you help out the person in front of you. What if 5 years or 10 years down the line, we come back and we see, mind you, I understand some people are immune compromised, they're ill, whatever. How come you can't make it mandatory for somebody who's over the age of 65, who's really, really messed up health-wise? That person I would understand. But this is a young, like pretty young woman. She's 29 years old. She's not going to get anything. That's what I think, you know? But where we're headed as people, it's very, very weird. You know what I'm saying? And then, and I feel like food, art, creativity, these things help people to kind of push out all this bullshit that's happening. You know, that's the type of people that, you know, I like to have on the show. People who are free thinkers. They think for themselves. And I know you are one of those free thinkers.
I try to be.
So, as an opinion, because everything that we say is an opinion, besides the factual things we speak about, you know, food, which is your profession. You're a creative. I'm a creative. Where do you think we're going, bro? Just, I like to pick people's brains.
I mean, it all depends on how far society will allow this to go. Mm-hmm. I feel like people are starting to kind of get over all of it, and that's kind of. I mean, again, this is just an opinion. I'm not a doctor or nothing.
He's
like,
not. No.
I'll teach you how to cook mushrooms, but I can't teach you medicine. But
we're gonna take them later. By the way, actually, no. That could be the next podcast, bro. You and we microdose fucking shrooms. Yeah. Where this podcast goes.
But I just think. I mean, in the beginning, it was for sure scary. You know, nobody knew what it was, and all these people getting sick, and
the sensationalism that was happening in the media.
Yeah. Like, and but I feel like now people are just starting to get over it, and they're realizing that although it was a deadly virus at one point, on the other hand, there are industries that are trying to profit off of this. So
from the tests, to the vaccines.
So the way I see it is either it's all slowly just going to be a thing of the past where it fades away, or they're going to give us ultimatums to where you literally can't have a life unless you get the shot.
Or many shots.
Yeah.
Because originally they said it's, you got to just take these two.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's it. You don't have to do anything. Now the mandates change. All this stuff changes. Like you're saying, I feel like gradually all this stuff is just going to fade away to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's like almost some type of a test to see how they can fuck with people.
Well, yeah.
To see exactly what kind of sheep people really are. And not everybody's that way. Don't get me wrong. But a lot of people, dude, I'll give you an example. When somebody's driving in their own vehicle, you already know where I'm going to go with this, right?
Yeah.
When somebody's wearing 3 masks in their own car, nobody's in the car. Why would you do that? Like, what's it's your own car.
Yeah, yeah. If anyone's getting you sick, it's yourself. Right?
Yeah, dude. So, I mean, I that was kind of like, I faded away from what we were originally speaking about. I was just curious because I always like to ask people where we're going, especially somebody who's highly, I think naturally educated. You try to, I respect people who try to learn on their own. They don't take everything seriously when they hear it on the news or whatever, because people for the past 2 years, they were locked in, at home and locked in on the news and believing every word.
Well, yeah.
They all
go crazy.
And it ruined a lot of people's lives. Yes, a lot of people died because of the, whatever, the corona, whatever the hell you want to call it. But if you really look at the numbers, it's not as drastic as the numbers that they give us.
And it's the one thing that was sad is like all the restaurants that got shut down, like closed for good. I mean,
small businesses, they really got messed
like
up.
Restaurants that I would never even imagine. Like Broken Spanish, my favorite restaurant in LA, got closed down. Chef Ray Garcia.
So that's your favorite restaurant?
That was my favorite restaurant. It was Mexican food, but done in a more upscale,
like high end.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to a Bazaar by Jose Andre?
That's different. That's Spain.
Oh, okay.
But this guy I'll give you one of his dishes was like an oxtail quesadilla. Like he was doing a lot of cool
Two of my
shit.
favorite things ever. Damn.
Yeah, he had like a lamb neck tamale, like celery root tamale. He had some awesome dishes that I was a big fan of, but unfortunately they fell victim to COVID. Recently, another chef, Adam Perry Lang, he's a legend in the world of barbecue.
Okay.
And
is that here in LA or?
Yeah. His former restaurant was in New York, but he opened a restaurant here in LA, and he was serving like insane dry aged steaks, like 365-day aged. He had his own dry age room,
like a year-old dry aged steak.
Yeah.
What was the name of the restaurant?
Restaurant APL. So it was his initials.
Oh wow.
And he had his own custom made knives that he welded made himself for the restaurant. Like he really invested a lot, and it was a pretty dope restaurant. And recently, like I believe a week or two ago, they announced that they're going to be closing down as well.
Wow.
So that's the other thing with this industry. Like you never know
when you're here and when you're gone.
Exactly.
Huh? Damn, dude.
But people always got to eat, so I'm sure
somehow, some way, it'll come back around.
For sure.
Yeah. That's wonderful, man. So what's something that what's a main goal for you? What's your next step? I know you, as we were talking about a little bit earlier in the podcast, we were talking about how you do an underground little restaurant in an undisclosed location. He will reveal it when you book him. That's the only time you will know. It's somewhere in the valley. Let's put it that way. The valley is a great
San
place.
Fernando Valley, not San Gabriel.
No, the real valley.
Yeah.
That's what I no, that is a real valley, bro. Yeah. That's where you get all types of scumbaggery happens too, dude. You got the bougie areas and you got the real law-abiding citizens. You know what I'm talking about, right? So are you going to continue doing that? speakeasy restaurant.
Yeah. That's I'll keep doing that until hopefully someday I could have a little brick and mortar where I could go fully.
Again, San Fernando Valley. Was that where you would want to?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. Yeah, I would want. I mean, I already live in the valley, and I feel like most of my clientele is based here already. So also it's price wise, like compared to West Hollywood and stuff,
I hate going down there. Bro.
Yeah,
it's
parking is annoying there, and also I feel like there's more carnivores in the valley. You know what I mean? Like I feel like Hollywood, that area is more vegans, gluten free. No disrespect, but
you guys want a wheatgrass smoothie or something like that.
But no, I like the valley. So
we're in Glendale right now, which is technically right on the border.
Yeah.
It's between this valley and that valley. But yeah, I spent a lot of great times in the San Fernando Valley, getting into all types of great things in the San Fernando Valley. And it's a great place to live. It's a great place to experience different cultures. I think, you all the way from Indians, Armenians, Hispanic culture, everything, dude. It's just a mishmash of all types of things that you could learn and taste and enjoy.
Right.
And so before we gradually get down to the podcast part of it, but you actually took your pits. You went back home.
I didn't take them to Armenia. I just had them in storage.
Really? I thought that
because I didn't know where I would put them there. So I just had them here until I went and saw.
Oh, dude, I thought you got them all the way over there.
No.
I was like, damn, this man is one dedicated guy, bro.
That's a lot of money. No.
Okay. So when you went to Armenia, right?
Yeah.
Did you go for just to soak in Armenia as a place, or I'm sure you've been there before.
Yeah, but it was just a long time ago.
Yeah.
I mean, last time I was there, I was a 10-year-old kid.
And going back to Yerort Mas, third mass for all the Americans, it's the easiest way they can say it because they won't be able to see it. Is that where your father comes from?
Yeah, it's where my dad was. He was basically born and raised there.
And that in that area, there's a lot of law-abiding citizens.
Right. It's what you would call just all the neighborhoods here. It's the equivalent of that.
It's a hoodish-ish.
Yeah. I don't want to put any neighborhoods on the spot, but
no. I've been to Yerort Mas, bro. Yeah. It's a very great place. It's actually right up my alley because
actually the best gharsi khorobat, which is our version of shawarma.
Oh yeah.
The best one is in Yerort Mas.
He's going to give me that information before he leaves here.
Yeah, because there's two of them. There's one on the left side and one on the right side. The one on the right side is the good one.
He's going to text that to me.
For sure. No, it was really good, man.
Really? Oh, compared to a lot of okay. Now you say shawarma. So where does shawarma come from? That's Middle Eastern?
Shawarma is, it's...
I know the Hispanic culture, they implemented it and made it al pastor.
Yeah, they used to call it, there's places, I saw it on a documentary how al pastor, it was, or a variant of al pastor. Sorry if I'm butchering it. They called it tacos árabes, like Arabic tacos.
That's the original name for it.
Because there's a big Lebanese community in Mexico.
Really?
Yeah, like what was that richest man in the world? The guy who owned the telephone companies.
Oh,
like he was of Lebanese descent, just born and raised in Mexico. So he was Mexican, but
I did not know that, dude.
Yeah,
I know who you're speaking about, but his name doesn't come to me right now. But I know exactly what you're talking about. But I did not.
Yeah, no. There's apparently there was a large like Lebanese community in Mexico, so that's how they adopted it. That's how it made its way across the Atlantic. But yeah, I mean, shawarma. It's if you're Lebanese, if you're Lebanese, Syrian, Egyptian, you're gonna call it shawarma. If you're a Turk, you're gonna call it doner.
Doner kebab.
We call it gharsi khorovats because Ghars, it's now occupied by Turkey, but Ghars, the historic Armenian city of Ghars, they had a khorovats where it was just rotating, and it's the same thing.
Shaved meat, pretty much.
Yeah. In Armenia, like I said, Yerotmas is where they do it good.
So when you went there, did you spend a lot of time in Yerotmas?
Not a lot of time. I would go there just Yerotmas is more like like a metro stop type thing. But I had heard about that Gharsi Khorobat spot, so I just went to try it there, and then my cousins took me to the house my dad grew up in. Like I saw it from the outside and all that. So
isn't that a wonderful thing? Isn't that because when I went, it was about 2-3 years ago. I saw where my uncle, my grandfather built a house in Noradesh. That's where my mom's side's from, and my dad is from Lenakan.
Yeah, my mom. I was staying in Noradesh for a while too, because my grandma had her house. Like my mom grew up in Noradesh too. So.
I have a feeling that if I introduce your mom to my mother, I think they might even know each other.
For sure, yeah.
Because I think with Armenians, there's a 6 degrees of separation with all of us, even though I might not know you.
Yeah.
But somebody knows you 6 ways back to me. And it's
their house was right by the museum, by the Erebuni Museum. Literally like a 2 walking distance.
My mother's house was by the cinema. Kinoimot.
I'm not familiar.
It's old, and now it's abandoned now. It used to be a cinema back in the day, but the Matsabana, it's a park.
Yeah.
So it's crazy, man. When I went, it's there's a feeling that you get when you get to Armenia.
Yeah.
And everybody always told me that there's a feeling that you get when you land there. I'm like, what are you talking about? Yes, I was. So from you need to do a little layover over Moscow, most likely. Yeah. So when we got there, it's like 3-4 o'clock in the morning. I'm tired, whatever. My cousin, who actually they moved from Syria during the war, so they were refugees technically. And they went to Yerevan, and he picked me up. And when we got outside, the 3:30 a.m. air of Yerevan hit me in the face. I was like, but I got goosebumps, dude. Like when I went there, I had crazy goosebumps, and I got a little emotional. As soon as I stepped out, I'm like, is it because they kept telling me that this is what's going to happen, and it did happen to me? Or is it just gradually? That's what happens to every person who feels like their ancestry is there. Their great, great, great,
I mean, if you believe in metaphysics, then I'm sure it has to do with the energy of you being on your land.
That's a wonderful thing, man.
But if you don't, if you're a very what's the word? Pragmatic thinking person, then I don't know. I don't have.
Maybe I was just tired at 3:30 in the morning, right? Man. So you could find Chef Arthur here, and you could find his restaurant. You could follow him on 3 Eyes, right? 3 Eyes RD.
Huh?
It was it.
No, it's I underscore MAS underscore
MAS.
Yeah.
BBQ.
Yeah. Or just at Chef Arthur, and then you'll
all this stuff that he's talking about. Guess what? It'll be here on the screen. On his screen somewhere. And he's an amazing chef. He's an amazing person. A great food historian buff. You're a buff of history.
Yeah.
You love history, and everybody else should remember history, because nowadays these kids, they don't know jack shit about history.
Yeah, I know.
And I think I want to say again, thank you for coming out, man.
Oh, thank
I appreciate you.
Me,
I know it was a little bit shorter, but you're gonna. I feel like you should come back, and we should definitely get real with one another. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And then we'll have a great time. Even though I had a great time having you here, man.
Likewise.
Thank you for the respect. You came and respected the podcast. You respected me, and I respect you and everything that you do. And I wish you the best, bro.
Thank you so much. Likewise.
So this is episode 10 of Lost in Hollywood. My name is Levon Moradian, and this is Chef Arthur. You could find him on the screen right here and everywhere else. You guys have a good one. See you later. Bye-bye.